Prayer. It's a word we all think we know, right? But what if I told you the entire concept as we've understood it might be, well, wrong? We're about to dive into Neville Goddard's classic, Prayer, the Art of Believing, and it's a radical rethinking of this ancient practice. It treats prayer less like a plea and more like a law of consciousness. And this question is everything. It gets right to the heart of the matter. What if prayer has nothing to do with asking some external power for something you don't have, but instead it's about internally claiming a reality that already exists within you, in your imagination? Honestly, this one little shift in perspective is the key to unlocking Neville's entire philosophy. So let's just lay it out side by side. On one hand, you have conventional prayer. You know the drill: petitioning, hoping, following a ritual. But on the other side, you've got what Neville calls the art of believing. And this isn't just a small change, it's a complete flip. We're swapping out asking for assuming. We're throwing out hoping and replacing it with feeling. And it's not a ritual, it's the operation of a universal law. Okay, so here's our game plan. To really get this, we're going to walk through 5 key ideas. We'll kick things off with the foundation of it all, the law of reversibility. Then we'll look at the engine that makes it all run, your 2 minds. We'll cover the essential tools you'll need, imagination and faith, before we get to the real practical technique, where we'll see why the feeling is the secret. And finally, we'll see how this all leads to what Neville called the greatest prayer. All right, let's start with the bedrock of this entire system, the law of reversibility. And the way Neville presents this, it's not some fuzzy, mystical idea. He treats it as a predictable, universal principle. Think of it like a law of physics, but for consciousness.
We all get direct transformation. It's simple cause and effect, right? Electricity runs through a wire, it produces a magnetic field. A specific cause creates a specific effect. This is pretty much how we think the whole world works.
But here's the twist, and this is where it gets really interesting. This isn't a one-way street. That transformation is reversible. Just as electricity causes magnetism, magnetism can be used to generate electricity. Neville's favorite analogy was the phonograph. Speech, the cause, makes a needle vibrate and cut a groove in a record. That groove is the effect. But then, that very same groove, the effect, can make the needle vibrate and reproduce the speech. The effect can recreate its cause. So here is the crucial takeaway. Neville applies this law directly to your mind. If having your wish fulfilled, let's say you get the dream job, would produce a definite feeling in you, like relief or joy or security, well then, according to this law, if you can deliberately generate that feeling first, that feeling must turn around and produce the thing that would cause it. You start at the end. You start with the feeling.
Okay, so if this law exists, what's the mechanism inside of us that actually makes it work? Well, that brings us to our 2 minds, which Neville calls the very engine of creation.
You can think of it like this. We have a dual consciousness. The conscious mind is like the captain on the bridge of a ship. It's what you know. It looks out at the world, reasons, gives orders. But the subconscious mind, that's the giant engine room below deck. It's what you are. It doesn't argue, it doesn't reason. It just accepts the captain's orders, the premise, and faithfully executes it with all its power. And this is absolutely crucial to get. Your subconscious mind is this incredibly powerful but totally unquestioning servant. It doesn't care if a premise is true or false, good or bad for you. Its only job is to take the feelings you impress upon it and bring them to life in your reality. It's like fertile soil. It'll grow any seed you plant, no judgment whatsoever. So, if the subconscious is the engine, how do we, the conscious captain, give it the right orders? This is where the tools of the art come into play: imagination and faith. Your imagination is the architect. It's what draws up the blueprint of the state you desire to experience. But a blueprint is just a piece of paper, without faith. And let's be super clear. In this system, faith is not hope. It's the deep, subjective acceptance that your imagined scene is real right now, even when your 5 senses are screaming that it isn't. The real work is getting these 2 aligned, because brute willpower will get you nowhere. If your will is saying one thing, but your deep down feeling and belief are saying another, belief is going to win. Every single time. Okay, that's the theory. But how do we actually do this? This brings us to the core technique, the how-to, and the reason Neville famously said, "The feeling is the secret." The process itself is surprisingly simple. First, you get into a state that's kind of like drifting off to sleep. This is key because it lowers the defenses of your conscious, arguing mind. Second, you construct a short, simple scene in your mind that implies your wish is already a fact. Don't see yourself getting it. See a scene that happens after you've gotten it, like a friend congratulating you. Third, and this is the secret sauce, you loop that scene over and over until you actually generate the feeling of it being real. The joy, the relief, whatever it is. And finally, you just drop it. You go to sleep or go about your day with this quiet confidence that it's done. The seed has been planted. This quote just nails the whole thing, doesn't it? You're not trying to make it happen. You are living from the feeling that it has already happened. You assume the feeling, you walk around in that feeling, and then, by that law of reversibility, the world around you has no choice but to shift and change to match it. Now, Neville takes this idea way beyond just getting personal stuff. He scales it up to its ultimate application, to what he calls the greatest prayer. The core concept here is that the entire world is a mirror. It is simply reflecting back to you the sum total of your own beliefs. According to Neville, every single person and situation in your reality is an externalization of your own consciousness. You don't see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. This is a radical claim about personal responsibility, isn't it? It means to change your world, you don't fight the reflection in the mirror. You have to change yourself. Now, this is a challenging but incredibly powerful idea. It means if you want to change someone, you don't argue with them, you don't try to force them. You change your conception of them. Inside your own imagination, you begin to see them as the person you'd like them to be. The implications for our relationships is profound. It suggests we can literally lift others up just by holding a higher vision for them in our own minds. According to this law, they have to, in some way, reflect that new belief back to us. And this all leads to the absolute pinnacle of the teaching, the idea that creation is finished. What does that mean? It means everything you could ever possibly be or experience already exists as a potential state within consciousness. So the greatest prayer isn't to create something new, but to simply awaken the highest version of yourself. Neville uses the term Christ here, not in a religious sense, but as a universal symbol for humanity's perfected state. And the prayer? It's simply to assume the feeling, I am that perfected ideal. So, we end right where we started. If Neville Goddard is right, and your own wonderful human imagination is the creative force that's shaping your reality, well, that's an immense power and an immense responsibility. It really only leaves one question, the only question that matters. What will you choose to see?